Yeah, it was just before we lost you there, I was asking about, Nick and I had been talking about the bottom six for the Leafs, and now they've got Bobby McMahon playing a few minutes. They got Hampus Lindholm actually took some shifts on the second line for them. Just want to get your thoughts on if it's possible for these guys who are relatively unheralded players to step into the lineup and, be impact players in a playoff series.
They got Hampus Lindholm from Boston?
Or sorry, with Pontus Holmberg. It's all similar sounding. Imagine that.
Okay. I was wondering where the hell you were going with that. I thought, where did I miss that trade?
Yeah, big deal today.
And he's a defenseman. He's not playing up front. Anyway, you know what? We saw with Ross Colton when he came up with Tampa Bay a couple of years ago. Really had a great run. It happens. Guys come up and get the job done, and buy into the roles and really have perfect fits. And it seems to happen every year. We saw it happen with Goudreau a few years ago. We had a great playoff in San Jose. I mean, it happens where guys come in and become really important guys. Goudreau again, and different teams. Certain types of guys rise to the occasion. The Leafs have missed on it. They've missed on it, in my opinion, for 4 years in a row on finding that right bottom six. This year, their bottom six at times have played pretty well. So this is another test for them. Their goaltending is going to be a test. Murray and Samsonov have played really well. Full marks to them for most of the season. Their bottom six have been pretty good, maybe as good as we've ever seen recently. We'll see what happens at playoff time. That's going to be a real important test. The big boys, it's tougher to score. It's tougher to play. They're defended so much. The defense becomes so much tougher on the best players. You need those guys to perform. The Leafs, in my opinion, their bottom six has been pretty good. Now we'll see what they do at playoff time. But that's going to be a monumental test. And they can't get it wrong this year. They got to make sure it's right. Trade deadline is going to be real important because Boston are going to add. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Boston are going to every top prospect with the Bruins, as thin as they may be in the prospect chain, are available because they're going to go for it. Boston, they got to go for it. Tampa, they're going to do something. So what are the Leafs going to do at the deadline? It'll be to match what they're going to be up against. I think the Leafs have a good chance to get by the first round. I'm with Nick on that. I really do.
We're talking to Doug MacLean, former NHL president, general manager, and head coach. As far as a little over 24 hours, Mac, how much will Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas take out of what they witness tomorrow night in terms of going up against a team like the Boston Bruins? Can they get a pretty good idea out of just one game to know what the focus needs to be? Can they zero in on that out of tomorrow night's game to get to a trade deadline?
Well, they just have to watch how the Kraken decimated the Bruins last night. They ate them up. Just follow the Kraken model, whatever that is. But it certainly worked.
We had Montgomery talking about it.
Now? Yeah, 7 in a row now. I think this is a good matchup. Again, earlier in the season, they played really well against the Bruins. This is another big test. The Bruins have been the best team in the NHL. By far, they've been the best team and most consistent team in the NHL. It's a great test for them, but those are matchups, but those are different from what it's like when you hit playoffs. Nick, you remember it goes up 25%. The intensity level goes up 25%. It's a different game. You got to play through people. It becomes a grind, and it's a good test, but that you got to be prepared to play at playoff time. And I'll never forget, and I tell this story all the time. I remember saying to my team every night before we played Pittsburgh in the playoffs, I said, we want to make Mario and Jaromir Jagr hate hockey by the time this series is over. And you know what? Both of them hated hockey at the end of that series. They hated it. And it's vicious out there. So it's not the same today, but it's still vicious.